Yeah.
Okay, we will call the training meeting to order at this time, the special board meeting. At this time, I'll ask everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, we're going to do roll call. So you have to push your little green button multiple times like I did, but it finally worked. So when it turns blue, you are logged in. Couple.
Oh, there.
There we are.
Roll call will show one supervisor absent.
Okay. Okay, we will move to approval of the agenda. At this time, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda.
Later makes a motion to approve the agenda.
Supervisor Flater makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Supervisor Tuderberg seconds.
Okay, Supervisor Tudor seconds. Any discussion? Do the button. So we will then use our little buttons again, and the yes is green, the nay is red. Glenn? There we go. Okay.
19 yes, 0 no.
Okay. Agenda is approved. Members of the public wishing to be heard. Do we have any members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay, seeing none, then we will move on to the consent agenda. I'll do a little explanation here because we're looking at the county board chair appointments and the county administrator appointments. And so we had 21 people, and I'll just show you our sheet. This is what we work on. See, we started at 9:30 and we're done about 1 o'clock. That's how long it takes to go through there to get it. We tried to give everybody their first choices. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible because some of the committees, there were more requests than there were seats. So we did our best to match, but then we also run into an issue which talks about a quorum. So for instance, if we have 3 people, or we have a 5-person committee, and the quorum is 3, so if we have 3 of those people and they want to be on another committee, we can't put them on there because now we have a quorum of another committee on there. So how shall I say it? This is a painstaking endeavor, and I know that some of you will be disappointed you didn't get the committee assignments that you want. I'll let you know that I actually stepped down to open up a seat for, in this case, for Supervisor Schmidt to be able on the Land Conservation Committee, a committee that I've chaired for 6 years. So every one of us made sacrifices. So knowing that, what we will now do is I will be seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then if somebody wants to pull something out of there, that's when you would make a motion to do so. So at this time, I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Supervisor McGill will make the motion to accept consent agenda.
Okay, Supervisor McGill makes the motion. Is there a second?
Supervisor Erickson make the second.
Supervisor Erickson seconds. Okay. Discussion. Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Steele.
I'd like to be able to talk about these appointments. Yours and county administrator's appointments. I think we ought to take a good heavy look at them and make sure we're satisfied with them as a board.
Okay.
I feel that on the land conservation and forest management committee, I understand that it'll be almost 5. If we had everybody returning, it would be like 5 members of the executive board on that committee. But with that said, I didn't think it would take as many off that it should had experience. It basically took a tremendous amount, if you add up the years of service in that committee. It was gutting. I personally feel, my opinion, it was done because that committee last year held some feet to the fire and tried to rectify a lot of mistakes that was done in that department. And that's my feeling. And I would like the board to reconsider that committee and have our county board supervisor, or county administrator, take another look at that.
Okay, so are you making a motion to that effect then?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the correct motion would be to, if you're, the only motion that you could have here is pull one of the groups out.
Right.
I don't think so. I think it's his choice. We just tell him whether we like it.
What exactly is your motion, Supervisor?
Is it to discuss them?
For him to take a look at his makeup that he appointed the first time. I do not agree with it. And I'm asking the board, making a motion for the board to have him redo his appointments on that committee.
So are you asking
For
the board to postpone this matter to a later date?
No.
So when is the reconsidering supposed to occur?
Bring it back to the next meeting.
That's what I'm saying. That would, we need to have a motion to postpone this to another meeting date. The problem with that is that the next county board meeting is on what would be,
May.
10th. We have to get the committees together. There's going to be committees meeting potentially before the next county board meeting.
Well,
I don't
know whether I should debate this with
Feel
you
free
or
to
what.
speak up.
I thought I was
Well,
trying to speak to the board. And the only debate I'm hearing is from you.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Steele, if I can maybe try to flesh this out. So would you want to take a moment now for the board to look at this and then actually pull this out, discuss it, and then vote on that separately from the county board determines?
I'm not happy with it.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what you want to do here so that we can try to get this
Either
right.
way,
Yeah, I mean, to do that this late hour would be pretty much impossible. I guess what you can do is, my understanding is you can poll my appointments out of the consent agenda and vote on if you agree or disagree with my recommendations. Can't decide who goes where, that's my statutory responsibility, but you could pull all those out and you vote on all of them at the same time. That's how it's in the consent agenda. That, your motion would have to be take the county administrator's appointments out of the consent agenda. You can vote on those, all of them in one swoop, and then if you approve them, it goes back to the consent agenda, and then you vote on the full consent agenda.
They make a motion to approve these and then discuss and disapprove.
Be done.
Right,
We're in the middle of it
discussion
right now.
So if they want to have discussion now, that's fine.
If we want to discuss that now, Buck, we can do it right now.
Well,
You
I
know, whether,
don't know if anybody else wants to speak,
okay,
but I did.
well, so, yes,
Asked to speak.
Supervisor Teuteberg.
I'm just asking for a point of clarification. I'm obviously new on the board, and I don't know what past issues that Supervisor Steele's alluding to. So if we could have some illumination into the matter as far as what these concerns were, I think it would help clarify the situation, whether or not we are in support of this proposed motion or not. I'm pretty unclear as to what the matters of contention are right now.
Okay. All right, we can certainly do that in discussion right now, because it is open for discussion. So right now, the motion is, by Supervisor Steele, is to pull out the county administrator appointments. And is that to, I'm trying to interpret what his motion was here. I don't know. Because so we can vote on these as a body, or we can pull one out to discuss, and we can vote on them separately. So we can vote on the county board appointments. We could do that. And, I mean, we can continue with the discussion on the administrative appointments, and then if it's so decided that somebody wants to make a motion then to move forward and vote on the administrator appointments, we can also do that. Mr. Bergeron, did you?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think when we're talking about the Land Conservation Forest Management Committee, to separate that out, or to separate out the county administrator appointments to hone in on that, we're really going to have to we're basically going to have to separate all of it, because that Land Conservation Forest Management Committee has two people. There's a lot of crossover members on that committee. There's two from Ag and Extension, which
That's
are your
correct.
appointments.
One from zoning.
From Planning and Zoning that were your appointments. So adjustments to Land Conservation Forest Management Committee are also going to impact your appointments. So we're kind of, this is going to snowball into, let's take a look at the full roster. I just wanted to make that point. I don't know how we can separate out that one individual committee for reconsideration. I mean, we can, but it's going to cascade into looking at essentially 3 or 4 committees.
That's correct. That's this process right here with the X's and the back and forth because of that the crossovers. And Mr. Bergeron is correct. So 2 of those people had to come from the Ag committee, and 1 had to come from the zoning committee. So those appointments could be or would be possibly jeopardized. So as far as Supervisor Teuteberg, if Buck, do you want to elaborate on what you stated so that there's maybe a clear understanding of the people?
Supervisor Bishel has.
Supervisor Bishel.
Sorry. Again, being new to the board, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. I thought these appointments were by the chair and the administrator, not really for debate.
They have to be ratified.
Okay.
So I appoint my committees, administrator appoints his committees, but then it has to be ratified by this board.
Gotcha.
So do you want to say any more on it, Buck?
Do you want me to explain the history, or do you want me to?
Well, I think that's what Mr. Supervisor Teuteberg was asking. He doesn't know the background of what you're talking about on.
Okay, I'll just recite on 2 of the many items that we run into. One, there was a contract laid in front of us in the committee. It was asked for us to renew it. Read the contract, and it was, that contract had run out in 2011. And we've been doing the same thing for same cost since 2011. And we were asked to renew it. And our committee said that's not a renewal because the contract hasn't been in effect for 10 years. And it become a political football, big time. In this board, on that committee, everything, I'm gonna be honest with you. But anyway, that's what happened. And the contract was revamped and different costs were put in there to make it more fair, and it was ratified. Second one, that committee for, I don't know how long, has worked with the department on the CAFOs and such statutes. I'd say 4 or 5 years. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think it takes that long to write up some an ordinance or statute for our county to follow on that item, especially when we have problems with our groundwater as it is now. And stuff like that, I felt now, looking back and looking at this appointment, that there was some people taken off there, period, for some of those reasons, because we did not, we held the department head accountable, period. Thank you.
That's just absolutely not true. I am the administrator. I deal with department heads. I've been a personnel director for 7 years. Any issue you bring forward to me, I'm going to take action on, look into, and decide what the proper discipline is for any employee. So what happened with the committee had absolutely nothing to do with that. I can tell you that's point blank. So Dean was in the room. Dean knows exactly the difficulties of getting these together. If anybody else has been on, Glenn's been in the room, it is difficult, but that is absolutely not true.
Could I give a rebuttal? The 2 items I brought up, are they true?
They're true, and I took appropriate action. That's what I do.
Thank you.
It had nothing to do with committee assignments. Absolutely nothing.
Any further discussion? Questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
The problem we ran into yesterday was 5 of us that have been on land conservation previously. Jason was not on the board last term. We're all land conservation members. Our problem is Glenn, myself, Jason, Buck, and Dean are all on executive. So in order not to have a quorum on that committee, only 2 of us could sit on land conservation. And I'd like to thank Dean for stepping down. I feel with our groundwater issues, I know with our groundwater issues, we have to have some farmers in that committee to deal with that, to talk to farmers. I mean, I know a lot of you guys know a lot about agriculture and farming, but there's a difference between knowing and understanding the economic realities that we face as farmers today. That's changed a lot in the last 10 years and not for the better. So, like I say, I'd like to thank Dean for stepping down. I know he really likes that committee, and I understand that, and I fully appreciate that. So thank you, Dean.
Okay. Can I point out a typo too, Dean?
Yes.
So they're aware. So this is your part of the packet that shows where all the members are at. If you look, this isn't what you're voting on. You're voting on the other one. But just to be clear, the Lower Long Lake Protection District Board, It's James Plater there, instead of George Romeyer. And that is also a member that has to be on land conservation, forest management, and that one. So that's another, I think there's, out of the 6 members, I think 4 have to be between other committees. So as you can imagine, and not have a quorum in another committee, so as you can imagine, it's pretty difficult to do that.
Any other questions or comments or inquiries? Okay. Hearing none, so Buck has, there's no motion? Okay. So we've discussed it, I guess, and so where we're at now is to approve the consent agenda. We've made a motion to approve the consent agenda, and we need a second. Or there is a second on that. And so at this point, hearing without any more discussion, we would vote on this issue. Is there any more discussion? I guess I've called it once, so I'll call it again. Supervisor Steele.
I put something on the floor. It wasn't even asked for a second.
For the consent agenda, there's only a motion that can be made as either a motion to pull the county administrator appointments or pull the county board chair appointments to vote on them separately. Neither one of those motions were made.
Oh, so you're saying we can't hone in on
No, it has to be the two, either the chair appointments and or the appointments.
I support the county board chair's appointments
So you're making a motion.
to approve them.
The motion on the floor is already for the consent agenda with both items. Yep, Ms. Supervisor McGill and Supervisor Erickson made the motion and the second to approve the consent agenda.
And I asked to speak on it,
Yep,
and we can discuss it.
correct.
I can offer a change.
The only Mr. Pauls can speak if he chooses.
Yeah, let's have
But-
Todd speak on that. Thank you.
The correct and the only motion in this case that would be made would be to amend the consent agenda to take either the group of appointments by the county administrator or the group of appointments by the county board chair, and to essentially discuss those if you want. However, once we get to the point of no more discussion, those have to be voted upon as a group. It's no different than an appointment, proposed appointment by the county administrator of a department head. County board would not have the authority to amend that appointment in any way and appoint somebody else. It's either a yes or a no vote. It's no different here. And my interpretation, if there were to be a change, those no longer would be the county administrator's proposed appointments. Those would be the county boards, not the county administrator. So.
We're not telling them who to put on it. We're just saying we're not happy with it. I am.
Okay.
And I did put a proposal forth to, just now, everybody said, is there a motion to approve? It was a second. Now the discussion. And during the discussion, I said, lastly, I will support the county board chair's appointments. And I'd like to see a vote on that, and then we can vote on the other one.
So,
But that's not a motion. Support.
I'm not sure. It sounds to me like what you're doing is asking to amend the consent agenda to pull those out. vote on them separately.
I was asked, this board was asked, okay, if there's anybody wanted to speak and pull one out. That was said by the chairman.
Right, and I believe he indicated that it would be done by an amendment to the consent agenda.
Right, and when I say one out, it's either county board chair appointments or county administrator appointments. So that's the two options. So,
Separate the two and vote on them separately. To accommodate Supervisor Steele.
okay, so when you make a motion, make sure, because she has to write it down, so state your Supervisor Howell, yeah, he's made the motion to separate the two, and then Supervisor Schmidt has made the second. So we got to get used to this, get the names out, because this poor young lady's got to try to write all this stuff down. Okay, motion's been made and it has been seconded. So we're going to do a button push on.
No, I think.
So do you need
Just
a motion
discussion.
to vote on one of them? Just curious. Now that they're
We have
separated.
to vote on yours yet.
We're voting
Gotcha.
on
We got to,
separation, right?
we got to vote on the amendment.
Yes.
So and you want to, we got to give her time now to put all this stuff in and get all the wording corrected, so we will then vote on the amendment. You always vote on the amendment first, and then you go back to the original motion.
Good thing I get paid by the hour.
You wish.
A whole quarter.
Are we
We are,
having a discussion on this, or are we voting?
You can have.
Is there
We
discussion?
have discussion about.
is there any discussion more on Supervisor Teutenberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could I ask the county administrator a hypothetical? A purely hypothetical question, sir. If this board were to vote in favor, or I'm sorry, not in favor of your appointments, does that have any weight to your authority to make those appointment decisions? Does it hold, let me rephrase, does it hold you accountable to the point where you would have to change your?
I don't have to.
Okay,
No,
statutorily, you have full authority to make those appointments.
Correct.
So hypothetically, even though this board would hypothetically vote not in favor of it, you could still retain those committee appointments.
Correct.
Irregardless of the board's decision.
that's correct. And if you would make that, if I would have to change something, we'd have to change a lot.
Correct.
Wouldn't be that.
As Supervisor Bergeron said, it'd be a cascading effect, but
Yes, you're correct.
There'd be no, you couldn't hold your feet to the fire to do anything as far as those statutory appointments.
Yeah, I could keep bringing them back, and you could keep rejecting them. I could go on.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions?
Yes.
Supervisor.
Just from like a procedural standpoint, I get how on consent agendas, we have the mechanism to pull one out and vote on it separately. But, you know, as we kind of alluded to, the cascading effect, we can vote on your appointments and say we approve them. And then we vote on the administrators and say we turn them down. We nullified your appointments too, because it's impacting appointments on your list. These two are not mutually exclusive. These are kind of.
Well, they aren't, but just again, because the board would decide, say they didn't even want my county board chair appointments, I still have that authority to maintain that whole list as it is. So right now, the issue at hand is that we would vote on these two items individually. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing none, then we will move forward to vote on the amendment. So those in favor, push their green button. Those opposed, push their red button. I might have screwed up. I did screw up.
The motion failed, 7 yes, 12 no.
Okay, motion fails.
The main motion.
Now we will go back to the main motion, which is to approve the consent agenda. And any further discussion on the main agenda?
I don't know. Supervisor Trudeau, I don't know if that's from before.
No, that's from before.
Okay.
I've used up my word count.
Okay. All right. Okay, hearing no further discussion, then we will call,
Oh, wait.
we will wait for her to get it up here.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, we will call the vote. Those in favor of the original amendment?
No.
Or, excuse me, the initial motion, got to get all this amendment motion stuff in here. in order. The original motion would push green if you're in favor of it, red if you're opposed. Release.
18 yes, 1 no.
Consent agenda passes. Okay. We'll then move on to number 7, County Board Orientation. Phase 2, Wisconsin Municipal Mutual Insurance Company, WMIC. Randy, were you going to do the intros? Okay. Thank you, Deb. Dean?
Problem. Good evening, everybody. And for those who do not know me, I am Deb Levins, and I am the Corporation Counsel Legal Assistant. I work with Todd and Jim. I'm here to introduce you to Dean Bays, who is the Executive Director for WMIC, which is our insurance carrier.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and it's good to be back in Chippewa Falls. I got a few slides to go through, and I guess what I understand there's a fair amount of new board members, and clarify what WMIC is, Wisconsin Municipal Mutual Insurance Company, so you understand why we call ourselves WMIC. And Chippewa Falls has been, or I'm sorry, Chippewa County has been a member of WMIC for 34 years, was one of the founding members of WMIC. And WMIC is your insurance carrier. Basically, we provide and support all the claims against the county from a liability perspective. WMIC was formed in 1987, 4 counties and cities, and by counties and cities. The policy is written and rewritten usually annually. We have a committee of members. Chippewa County's been on that committee in the past that are involved in rewriting that policy for the county. All members are owners of WMIC, which means when WMIC was formed, and in your case, Chippewa County invested money into the company, I think around $1 million. I'm not sure right offhand what that number is, but and you get a return on that every year also. So as you see, we have a history of dividends. WMIC's paid dividends for the last 34 years, and you get a dividend on your investment in the company. So when we make money on that investment, you get that in return. And there's also another dividend based on operational results. So when the county does well and WMIC does well, there's usually a dividend on that also. We have 4 board meetings a year. I report to the board of directors. And over the years, Chippewa has been very active. You've had a board chair in the past. We have various committees. We have an underwriting committee, which is involved in writing the policy, rewriting the policy, giving input to staff. We bring things forward to these board meetings. It's very similar to this, and get input from the members on, do we want to write cyber liability coverage, or do we want to write expanded coverage for the airport, or those types of things, and get feedback from members, and then look at the industry and see if it makes sense to do those types of things. Our members over the years, Deb's involved, Jim Sherman's been involved in the past. come to the meetings. We have a lot of training at the meetings on risk management. So they see what's going on with other counties, other cities. And so we see those networking and training opportunities as very beneficial. We try to share best practices. We encourage our members, if there's a policy out there that you're looking to develop, reach out to our members, the whole group. If it's Waukesha or City Madison or La Crosse County or Eau Claire County, usually someone's got a policy that they can share or parts of the policy they can share. That's been very helpful in the past. And then we also use the group to purchase group purchase arrangements. As I said, WMIC's focus over the years has been strictly liability. We defend the county on excessive force claims. There's a jail death in a suit. If somebody slips and falls on a sidewalk, those types of things. And we don't write property. We don't write cyber liability. And we don't write work comp insurance. And we don't do those things because that's not our expertise. So we're able to form group purchase programs through an agent or a broker and provide the whole group with a better rate and better coverage than we could provide. Our strategic initiatives, and these have been consistent over the years, maintain our financial strength, and that involves trying to get a net income every year, trying to return a dividend, keep our surplus levels at a high enough level that we can pay claims and plan for the future to pay claims. Continue to improve service to our members. I'll touch on that in a little bit about different types of services, loss control services or risk management services. Continue to foster member participation. You know, it's easy to get a member, and it's more difficult to keep them satisfied for 34 years. And WMIC over our 34 years has never had a member leave, which we're still proud of. But and it's an effort to reach out to our members, get them to come to meetings, get them involved, get them on committees, get them on the board, so they're participating in that governance for the company and the strategic planning. WMIC focuses on strategic growth. You might ask, we've only got 20 members over 34 years, and there's a lot of reasons for that. We look for counties or cities that really fit WMIC's model, and it's usually larger counties or cities, and also counties or cities that are able to take on a higher retention per claim and are willing to invest in the company to be part of that process. My philosophy as executive director, I've been at WMIC 14 years now, and is to create an environment of professional development, and that's not just for staff. We focus on our staff because we want, Deb works with our lead adjuster who we really encourage to get ongoing education, keep abreast of what's going on, not in just the municipal industry or what's going on with counties, but what's going on nationwide with reinsurance, with excessive force claims or jury awards, those types of things. And at the same time, we encourage our members to be involved in the meetings so they get some of that education too. And then we continue to develop and implement an effective loss control plan. And that's always an ongoing effort with WMIC to provide either funding or training to our members. Some of the insurance we provide to Chippewa County, for instance, general liability, which includes what I kind of talked about, law enforcement, jail liability, auto liability, public officials, E&O. So if you as a board member get sued concerning a WMIC issue or concerning a county issue, WMIC would defend you. Employment practices, liability. Randy fires somebody and maybe wasn't the best thing. We'll step in and we'll defend him, and those types of things. We provide cyber liability through a third party. We do buy deadly weapons coverage for all our members, which is a coverage that someone brings in a gun, and even if there's a threat, there might be some types of coverage there. And Excess workers' compensation coverage. I said we don't write workers' comp, and we don't, but we provide a third-party group purchase for coverage above your self-funded level with workers' comp. And then we're 1/3 owner of a property company, and you also get your property through that company. And auto physical damage. Other miscellaneous coverages, I know a lot of our members need surety bonds, maybe pollution coverage, underground storage tanks, a variety of types of coverage, and we help facilitate that as much as we can. One thing we talk about general liability, law enforcement, and jail liability. I don't think I have a slide on it, but Wisconsin is very unique and fortunate that all of you have the statutory protections that we do in the state. We have tort caps for general liability of $50,000 per claim, which is, I think, the lowest in the nation. And those definitely help keep your premiums down over the years. So that's a big plus. And there's also a lot of immunities, recreational immunity. Someone's going down the bike trail and they trip over a tree. More than likely, they're not going to get paid anything for that because you're going to have immunity for that. Those things happen, and there's a lot of good immunities that protect the county. And we're fortunate that we have a lot of good law firms in the state to work with, and they really provide the expertise and the direction on those types of things. Some of the loss control services, we work with your jail, with your sheriff. Chippewa takes advantage of Lexapol law enforcement policies and procedures. About 3/4 of our members take advantage of that, and we provide some funding for that. We don't fund 100%, but we do provide some funding. We have specific funds allocated to the county that Deb or Randy can collaborate on and determine what makes sense from. If you need training on employment practices or training in the jail or certain types of things, those types of funds would come in play. We do an estimate of your year-end retained losses every year. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but it saves you probably $5,000 a year because we just do it as part of our work with our actuary. And they have 30 years of data on you, and it gives you a real. It's almost a shockingly accurate number of. We can determine what our claim's going to be from year to year, based on 10-year loss history and what's going on in the industry. And then again, we provide coverage opinions, certificates of insurance. If you need help looking at contracts, we don't get a lot from you guys, but if you want us to look at the insurance provision in a contract, give our opinion on those types of things. And we do workers' comp claims administration services. So we work with your HR department to administer your claims. We don't cover the claim, but within your self-insured retention, we provide the claims administration, work with nurse case management, those types of things. As far as liability claims administration, I know Deb's going to talk a little bit about claims, but from my perspective, we manage your claims from inception, even though you pay for that first, I think it's $150,000 or $200,000. I've got a slide on that. We manage that claim from $1. If we think the county's been negligent or is going to lose this case, let's just pay it. If we owe it, let's pay it. And we use governmental immunities and tort caps whenever possible. Over the years, the concept of settling claims, it kind of varies. Right now, we're in a kind of a volatile market for jury awards, especially when it comes to law enforcement. So we're very cautious on taking a law enforcement claim to trial. So, but we push those. We try to settle them if we can. Less than 2% of claims go to trial. And I know I get pushback from the board once in a while. It says, you guys are settling too many claims, but we have a good track record of getting, our goal is to protect WMIC, so we're viable to protect you. And it's been successful for us. how the claims administration process works, and this is really Deb working with our adjuster at WMIC. She reports a claim, it's reviewed by the adjuster. We determine coverage. Now that coverage determination may come to me, someone else in the office, or we utilize outside counsel for coverage counsel. She'll look at it. And if we determine there's coverage, if it's maybe it's an unfortunate shooting, something like that, that's when reinsurance gets involved. We report to reinsurance. And even though we have level of reinsurance, we maintain control of the claim the entire time. Then we'll defend the county, and then we'll go through that process of, do we pay the claim, do we mediate, or do we go to trial? Typical liability claim, if there is such a one, usually takes, auto liability claim might take a couple months. A typical liability claim could take a few months. And then you have the atypical claims where there's employment practices, civil rights, shooting, those can take several years. Chippewa County has a per claim retention of $150,000 per claim. And what that means is if there's a claim, even though we're managing that claim from $1, you're going to pay the first $150,000 of that claim. You do have an annual max, which is about 3 times that, which is about $450,000, I think. WMIC then has the next $1.75 million per claim. And then above that, we get reinsurance up to $12 million. I think the biggest claim we've had ever has been, in recent years anyway, in modern history, has been about, well, we settled a claim for $4.5 million a few years ago. And that was a police shooting claim. Financially, our net premium last year was $4.5 million. We have $35 million in total surplus, $55 million in total assets, and member dividends paid last year were $804,000. And when you look at that $35 million in surplus, I think our high water mark on surplus has been about $45 million, and now we're building back up. We get the question, it's like, wow, that's a lot of money. That seems like a lot of money, but in the insurance world, you never have enough surplus because you never know when you can have 10 catastrophic losses in 1 year, and you have to be prepared for that. Just a list of our members that's in the pack. Any questions? Again, WMIC is the 1/3 owner of MPIC, and we're also a member of GEM, which is Government Entities Mutual, which we get part of our reinsurance from. So it's nice that we're structured that way, that if the reinsurance market ever gets so bad, we're a member of a reinsurance company that can provide that to us. Any questions?
Any questions from the supervisors?
Thank you very much. Just a side note, this is probably the last time I see you. I'm retiring the end of June, so.
Congratulations.
Haven't had to use. Okay. Go backwards. Once again, just so that you guys are aware, my name is Deb Levins. Just a little background. I've been with Chippewa County for 7 years now. I have been in the legal arena for the last 26 years. I do hold a JD degree. I just don't care to practice. I'd rather stay behind the scenes. I am also, in addition to being the legal assistant, I am also the RFP coordinator for the county. As Dean alluded to, one of the many things that I do is the certificates of liability for all of the contracts that the county maintains. I have a complete listing, and we go through the different departments and I to make sure that they're renewed every year, so we don't have anything that's outdated. I do all the insurance renewals and underwriting questions that come in from our third-party vendors as well as WMIC and MPIC. I do track all the liability claims and lawsuits for the county, as well as anytime a claim comes in from the public, I do the initial investigation before I turn it over to WMIC so that I have all the information to give them. I do maintain an up-to-date listing of all county properties, which was a feat in and of itself. That also includes all the highway equipment, and I'm even talking items that are under $5,000. I have a complete listing, and that is updated every year. County vehicles are updated every year, and the list has to be provided to a third-party vendor so that they can determine our insurance for the upcoming year. So that does affect it, as well as the property evals that are done. And every 3 to 5 years, MPIC will come out to do an evaluation on the properties, do a walk of the county to kind of make sure that we have everything as far as properties that need to be insured, that they're on the list. If it's not on the list, it's not covered. And we've had that incident already happen in the last couple of years. I am also a member who attends the regular, well, up until COVID, Public Firearms Range Committee. I'm also a member of the Courthouse Safety Committee. I am the one who will bring any claims that need to be approved by the exec committee or the county board. As Dean alluded to, I am a member of the WMIC committee for representing Chippewa County. I've been there since the 1st of July in 2019. Jim did it previously. I attend all the quarterly meetings. Matter of fact, we have one coming up in May in Green Bay. And just so that you all are aware, we sit like a board meeting. Even though I'm not a board of director, I am there for the meeting. All of the entities are present for all meetings, whether it's claims committee, underwriting, finance, everybody is there, so you know what's going on. And I am a member of the claims committee. And just so that you guys have an understanding, the way that claims are broken down as far as who approves them, Corporation Counsel has up to $500 on a claim that they will approve. Anything between 500 and 1 and 10,000 goes to exec committee. And then anything over 10,000 comes to the board of directors, which comes to you guys. Those are few and far between, thank God. Because those are the ones that usually will take a lot of time. Those are not something that are done in a couple months. Those are cases that usually have been going on for at least a year. And I can say that we just won a claim that has been going on 2 years, almost 2 years, that we just won in a summary judgment motion a couple months ago. So it happens. We do win on occasion. When we bring a claim to you, whether you're on the exec committee or on the board here, it's one of two options. We are either bringing the claim to you for allowance for the county to pay it or disallowance. okay? Just so that people understand, when we ask you to disallow a claim, if you do not by majority approve the disallowance, it does not mean that you are approving it to be claimed, to be paid. What you're doing is, when you approve a disallowance, we send out a letter to the party notifying them. They can bring a lawsuit, but their time limit is cut down to 6 months. If you don't approve a disallowance, it becomes a statutory claim, and depending on the type of claim it is, it can be up to 6 years that it will sit out there, that they can file a lawsuit. So, that's just some background information for you all. Okay? And that is all I have. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the County Board Supervisors? Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, overview of economic development. Charlie Walker and Randy Schultz. Charlie?
Mr. Board, Chair, board members, congratulations. Thank you. Good. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you do. I'm Charlie Walker, President and CEO of Chippewa Development Corporation. A little bit about me. Excuse the accent. I've been here 15 years, fell in love with a Wisconsin woman, and she won the battle. Originally from Austin, Texas. I've been in economic development for 24 years now. So we get to work together. I know the Economic Development Committee is going to be great, but I'm going to start off by saying all of us in this room work on economic development, and it's a very important aspect of what the county does. We're going to talk about Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation. Basically, it was this committee, board of directors, that helped start the organization. The primary objective in 1987 was to merge and to basically take all the economic development activities that were happening throughout the county and put them into one economic development approach. Now, when you take that in 1987, Mr. Steele, that's called regionalism. And that's fairly new in economic development, but the county was foresight enough to start it in 87. So the theme tonight is going to be your aggressiveness and how what you do today. You guys have been pretty good over the past of looking into the future and doing things. In economic development, well, let's see if it's going to go back. Okay, we'll do it this way. In economic development, what you mostly see, I compare it to an iceberg, right? You see the building built, you see something happen, you see the jobs created. But what a lot of folks and communities don't realize is there's a lot of things underneath the surface that goes on. That's the multiplier effects. That's the supplier relationships. Those are a lot of the unseen things in economic development. And the unseen things, like an iceberg, are always bigger than the iceberg itself. Now, in economics, we're going to go back. We're going to go back to, Randy, we're going to go back to college. We are going to talk about the what's called the leaky bucket theory. And that is a theory that probably, if you study economics in college, you get it in your junior year. So the leaky bucket is a really simple analogy. Ken learned it by don't put too much hay. You put hay in the barn, but you don't take out more than you put in. I'll say it again. You put hay in the barn, but you don't take out more than you put in. So in the leaky bucket scenario, how wealth is created in the community is that you're filling the water up. And you can never really keep the bucket completely full because there's leaks in the bucket. Leaks are when you pay your taxes. Leaks are anything that makes that outsource. So economic development, what the county really does is simple, is we try to plug the leaks in the bucket. And as soon as we think we get one plugged, the staff would tell you another one pops up. So we just got to constantly work at how we keep wealth creation. And as that water fills up, that creates wealth. So you've got a balance of when you raise taxes, well, sometimes you have to, but that creates a hole in the bucket. when you have local companies that are doing internet shopping, that's creating a hole in the bucket. So we have strategies to start to fill those holes, and economic development isn't really new. It's been really around since the 1930s as a profession. But we do business expansion and retention. We call that in Chippewa County BEAR. Every Northwood community needs a nice BEAR. Business expansion and retention. As we know, 85% of the jobs that are created from existing businesses. So helping those existing businesses find ways to expand through export, through supplier relations, to having a product that when they modernize, they can move into. That's business expansion retention. I'll go into how we do that. Business attraction. That's the most glorious one that everyone goes, oh, yeah, cool. But that's about 10 to 15% of what we do. Every now and then you'll hit a home run. Chippewa County, if you look in the history, the statistics are a community gets one business attraction company moving into town once every 10 years. That's for a county level, once every 10 years. And when they do that in Nebraska and they do that in Iowa, they celebrate for 10 years. But Chippewa County, because of you guys, your predecessors, and the way you do your leadership, you set the foundation that we have a pretty good, decent track record. And you're going to see who's on the Economic Development Committee. Raise your hand. Oh, yeah, cool. We're going to immediately get to work. I think Todd mentioned, well, we need to meet. We're going to request a meeting really quick. Todd doesn't even know that. It's happening as we speak. But we're going to do that. And then you have business creation. These entrepreneurs. When there's a company that lays off, they become accidental entrepreneurs. What are they going to do? So we have a program to help them start their business. So you have traditional starting a business, help you with a business plan, help you do that. And then there's the innovative one where if you have an idea, we can help you. Part of that, who's on the Chippewa Valley Innovation Center? Right? That is, again, going back in history, that is a tool that you guys put together to help entrepreneurs. It's a partnership with Eau Claire, the city of Eau Claire County, CCEDC, Eau Claire Economic Development, and it's an incubator. And it's just kind of use another farm analogy. You're going to put the egg in, you're going to keep it warm. At a certain time, it's going to hatch, and then it's going to go out in the community. Again, Chippewa County's got a great track record of companies that have started in the incubator and graduated. Companies like Advanced Laser, companies like Preferred Dyes, Allied Dyes. So we've got a good track record, and sometimes that makes our competitors or our partners envious. So the theme, again, it's a very competitive process of what we do. Workforce and talent development. Now that's a strategy that's becoming more and more important because as companies grow and as empirically we're just not having enough babies, the workforce is starting to get smaller and smaller. How do you find the workers? How do you get people to do that? There are strategies that we need to do to implement that. And with work at home, it's become even more important. So I could be a company, and let's put on Mr. Bergeron, Mason Shoes. You can have employees all over the world, right? And so those communities that have people who are working out at the lake are bringing in those dollars from the company. So Mason Shoes could be considered a leak in the bucket or a plug in the bucket. If we can get everybody to live on the lake with broadband working for Mason Shoes, we're plugging a leak in the bucket. If Mason Shoes has to go and get people in California to work for them, we got a hole in the bucket. So attracting talent is a very important economic development strategy. Mr. Gullickson would tell you that tourism is a huge economic development. That's putting money in that and stopping the linkage. So we have strategies to create wealth. And then we have project encouragement. Without product, we have no projects. Bottom line, if you do not have an industrial park, an incubator, you have no projects. So the county, under the leadership of Randy and the staff, they've been addressing, again, going back. Before Randy, this board said, hey, let's take the county farm, let's make an industrial park. That's been very successful. They understood without product, you have no project. So we're moving forward and doing that. So let's go about our BEAR things. Some things that we do. We like to market to get it to it. Some things I'm going to go through real fast. We understand the significance of new job creation by existing companies. We do that a variety of ways. We have celebrations. Those are the awards that you get. We recognize We want our companies, HPE, Great Northern, we want catalytic combustion to win these awards because it shows they're the best and it's a great investment opportunity, and that attracts talent. People want to work for the best. Da, 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 da. We have bear discussions. We're going to have a developers conference coming up, well, a discussion next week. We're bringing in developers to say, what do you guys look at when you invest in a community? We want to listen to them. We want to hear them. We understand we have lunch and learns. Those are because companies might have an issue about exporting. How do they export their product? And they don't want to be the only one to say, hey, I don't know. So we hold a lunch and we bring other people who don't know, but not embarrassing, and we give them some topics, and we get them on that. And we get them into the Export Tech program. And we do some cool things on that. And bear visits. Now, COVID stopped that. We used to go into the businesses we call economic businesses, economic-based businesses, primarily manufacturing. We don't go to every restaurant and every chiropractor, but primarily the manufacturing jobs. And we talk about it. We go in the room and we don't say, it's confidential, and we say, hey, what are your issues? And those issues that come up form the strategies that we're going to push for from the legislation, and that we're going to come to you guys and say, here's some strategies that we're going to do. And then, of course, we have a podcast because when we couldn't do it, knock on doors for COVID, then we decided, well, hell, let's do it on the podcast. So we found that's been very successful as well. That's a business and retention program. It is a formal process. We will gather and do surveys, and we'll send that out. And it is for your information. You'll see that some of it is negative, some of it is positive, but it is what it is. When we do our business retention publication, you're going to read it and say, hypothetically, it would say, the county board's a little crazy. Well, that's good to know, right? So we don't want to take offense to anything. We just know that this is the pulse of the community, and we try to stay abreast of it. So some of the things that you can see is what I've already mentioned. Now, when we talk about business attraction, the process there is real simple. Todd would tell you it's about getting crossed off the list. Our goal is not to get crossed off the list. It starts at a large funnel. I call it the funnel of doom, and it works all the way down. So as you start going through, you got to have product. Again, without product, you don't have a project, and you come all the way down, and then you have the final selection. And you know what? They're going to leverage it between two communities. They're just going to they're going to do that, and then the fun of the Economic Development Committee kicks in on the business attraction. Business creation is we have our honeycomb hatch. That's our Shark Tank. We actually have a Shark Tank where you can come in and listen to entrepreneurs pitch, and it's pretty cool there. We helped, again, when I say we're talking about everybody's on the team. So we helped start a Chippewa Valley Angel Network Group. That was 25 years ago. That was cool. That was this board said, let's get these entrepreneurs giving back. So we have the revolving loan fund. In your budget, don't talk to Lori, but she'll talk about the revolving loan fund. The CCEDC is a public-private partnership. We have one board member that is I guess you guys, the chair of the Economic Development Committee is going to come on board and get involved. But the revolving loan fund committee is a volunteer board. They're not bankers. There is a couple bankers, but they're business people. And they look at your loan because they're going to give you a recommendation. We get an application in, we're going to call them, and they're going to look at it, and they're going to look at it from a business and a banking and a protection, and then they're going to give that recommendation to the Economic Development Committee. We don't care if you approve it or not. 99% of the time, you guys are going to approve it, and then they'll process it and underwrite it. But the point is so you guys don't have to be number crunchers or anything. You've got a professional group of folks that have looked at it, has smelled it, and there's a lot of applications that Lori never sees. It's screened out because it's crazy. It doesn't even come before the committee because it's screened out because it didn't pass the muster test. You're going to see that. Then you got Honeycomb Hatch. We got that. And then the Business Incubator for Chippewa Valley Innovation Center. That is a great program. And it's been 35 years, and it's got some problems with buildings and how to modernize. And Economic Development Committee is going to love that. So there's just some of the committees, the board meeting. That's the Revolving Loan Fund Committee. If you recognize them, you got one banker in there. The rest of them are businesses. That's Ron Haas in Stanley. Runs a successful restaurant. He's a great person to have because it's a business. He looks at it from business perspective. There's the winner of the hatch, and talent skills. Now we keep a low profile because it's really important. But how many people heard of STEAM? Okay, did you know that was started by us? because we understood that it needed pipeline labor, so we do that. So we promote it, we get it, critical core manufacturing skill set. That was a program where we got us together through the business retention. We said, hey, CVTC, this is some soft skills you need to be teaching. The Explorer Manufacturing Boot Camps, you're gonna hear about that. We got some coming up. Inspire, which is trying to get the kids to, it's really a great idea. Working with Junior Achievement, if you've seen that, where they go in and they can actually email a business and ask questions about that. Now, there's some security issues and some screening and training on the business because you don't want to be sending your students to God knows who they're going to answer. So it's more complicated than that, but it's a good program. And then there's STEAM. And so these are some of the things that are just amazing. We do job fairs as well. We did outside job fairs. And that's bringing the power of the public and private sector together to keep our talent here. Going back to, again, product is a must. We could speak days and hours into this, but we talk about place making. Why is it important that you guys struggle? Oh, wait a second, we got Parks and Rec. We got a Parks and Rec committee, right? Why is it important that you do boats and boat docks? Because we're talking about placemaking. People want to go to where it's great and that importance. Talk about the business park. Why are we talking about where's the next industrial park going to be? How important is that? Improving the streets and the wayfinding. All that adds to the value of the community. I wanted to throw in here, and you can stop me anytime, Randy. I'm going fast. Let's look at some things that are really happening. And I threw some work at home stats up here. And 62% of employees, that's the talent we want to bring, want to work remotely. This number is jumping so fast, it's crazy. It is so crazy how many people want to work at home. Here are the things that I'm throwing a softball to you because this is what we're going to be battling. These are the states, how many people have heard, we'll give you $5,000 if you move to our community. That's where it's going. And these are the states that are giving bounties, if you will, if people move to their community. Alabama's got one. Arkansas's got one. Indiana has one. Michigan has one. Minnesota has one. Okay? So I'm going to end there. But the point is that we are going to get a lot of pressure on how we can help put in some things like first-time home buyers. And so we're going to try to put in be innovative on how we can use some tax credits and how we can do some things to be competitive with our sister neighbor there at Minnesota. So you can see some of the things that they're offering just for new talent to come to their community. My point goes back to the beginning. It's the empty bucket. They're trying to plug leaks. They're trying to recruit talent. It is a very, and those on the Economic Development Committee know, it's a very competitive process. It is very competitive. And we do a really decent job on it, and we need to get better because it's becoming more competitive. Randy would tell you that yesterday, are we on public? Can we talk? City of Altoona just purchased 80 acres for a new industrial park. Okay, so Eau Claire's expanding. And you know what the reason they gave? They gave because they don't like the fact that Chippewa County is kicking their bahookas. So we can all be proud that we're doing good stuff and they're trying to catch up with us, and it's all good. And I am Charlie Walker, and I'll answer your first question. Who you have? Mr. Smith, you have a question? Please, you talked about it, but I figured you would ask about Farm Technology Day.
How many cups of coffee do you have today?
Not enough. But like I said, I'm here to help you. We're a public-private partnership. I don't like to talk a lot about myself, but I'm here, whatever we can do. And as Ken and all of us know, there's sometimes it's controversy either way. And the idea is to do the best what we can do for the county and create the jobs for the citizens. And economic development is actually the most important department that you will ever have to do, right? So thank you for your time. Randy, you want to hit it home? Or are you done, or did I cover it up? All right. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any questions?
Any other questions from the board?
Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you, Charlie. His presentations are always animated and entertaining.
It's just sharing that committee, you're going to be handling.
Okay. Wisconsin County Association Board roles and responsibilities. Sarah?
We maybe put somebody between me. Like,
It's a lot to follow.
I'll say, that's a hard act to follow. So thank you so much for the invitation to be here today and talk to you about roles and responsibilities. I know after hearing about economic development, roles and responsibilities, sounds exciting, doesn't it? So we'll get you guys through this as quickly as we can today. So I'm Sarah Diedrich Kasdorf. I'm the Director of Outreach and Member Engagement for the Wisconsin Counties Association. I've been in that role since the end of December. So it's a new role for me at the association, but I've been at WCA for over 30 years. Prior to that, I worked in the Government Affairs Department. So I was the Deputy Director of Government Affairs when I switched roles. And people say, well, after 30 years of doing that, why would you want to do something different? And I said, well, after 30 years, would you want to continue to have to, talk and work with the legislature? Come on. I don't think there's any, no question. As I say, I would much rather come out and talk to county officials and work with you guys directly than walk across the street every day into the Capitol and have those conversations. Been there, done that for 30 years. Much rather come see you guys. So thank you again for the invitation. Couple of things really quickly. I hope on Tuesday you guys got a welcome packet from WCA. There's a couple of things in there I just want to bring your attention to very quickly. The first is this county officials handbook. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is in here. Some of what we talk about when we do our trainings can just be a lot, especially for new supervisors. And you say, you just hit us with so many things in one day. I'm not going to remember all of it. That's what this handbook is for. You can go back after you hear presentations, after you've sat through a number of county board meetings, and you say, okay, now I have a question about this, or I don't quite understand. So we try to make it as simple as we can in the county officials handbook. But if you don't like to read handbooks, right, and they can be somewhat boring and to read, then I'm going to direct your attention to this, which is our county officials workshops. We are going to be holding 7 of them across the state. The closest to you guys is Eau Claire. We will be in Eau Claire. Let me see here. When are we going to be in Eau Claire? We will be in Eau Claire Wednesday, May 11th. So put that date on your calendar. Take the day off of work, whatever you need to do. Come join us at the county officials workshops, where we will give you a full day of training. It's WCA along with UW Extension. We partner in this training for county officials. It'll be a lot in that day, but at the same time, I think it's a lot of information that you guys need to have, you need to understand, not just for new supervisors. I know most of you are new on this board, but again, for those who have been on boards for years, they tell us every time they come to a county officials workshop, they learn something new. All right, so I'm done with my commercials now. We will get to the topic at hand here, which is roles and responsibilities. So this is probably the presentation that we get asked to do the most. And we get asked to do that because it's really a foundational presentation. Because if everybody understands their roles and their responsibilities within county government, it can really ease tensions. It can eliminate friction. It can help provide you guys with a path on how you move forward with what it is you wish to accomplish as a board. So we are just going to start diving right into the presentation here. So roles, let's see here. There we go. I never know. I have so many presentations I'm giving lately. I don't know what has, delays in the slides and which ones don't. So I apologize for that. So if you could say that county government has a Bible, that would be chapter 59 of the Wisconsin State Statutes. So everything you've ever wanted to know about counties, county authority, county governance structures, the county board, powers and duties of county officers, all of those things are found in chapter 59 of the state statutes. Chapter 59 also sets forth that counties are a body corporate. We can sue and be sued, and yes, you heard from your insurance company and you really don't want to get sued and be sued, but as a body corporate, we can. The statute also goes on to say that the powers of the county as a body corporate can only be exercised by the board. and the board exercises those powers through the adoption of its resolutions and ordinances. It is important to keep in mind, however, that county powers are very much limited by state statute. Unlike our municipal partners, counties lack constitutional home rule authority. So what that means is if you are a county, you can only undertake such actions as are authorized by state statute. So if state statute doesn't include it, you can't do it. Now that very much differs from municipalities because our municipal partners do have constitutional home rule. And what that means is municipalities can undertake any action as long as that action is not prohibited by state statute. Now, there's one exception to that for counties, and that relates to administrative home rule, and I think that's the next slide. But before I get to that, just again, real generally too, most basic, obviously, Chapter 59 creates county boards of supervisors. Counties are governed by the Board of Supervisors. The statute does have certain limitations on the county board. For example, the statute sets the maximum number of members that can serve on county boards based upon the population size of a county. No county in Wisconsin is anywhere near its maximum size, which is good. There were times, many years ago, where it wasn't unusual to find a county board of 60, 70 members. Imagine if you had 70 members. Well, first of all, your room wouldn't be big enough, but just imagine, having a 70-member board and having to come to consensus on a number of items with the 70-member board. It would be like mini legislators and mini legislatures. I think it would be really tough to conduct your business. So we're glad our board numbers are down, from where they were back many years ago. But our county boards do range in size from 7 to 38. The smallest county board, we'll do a quiz. Which county? Smallest county board?
Pepin.
Nope.
Forest.
Nope.
Lilas?
No. Menominee. Menominee County is 7. Largest. Which county has 38? Marathon. Yes. So we go from Marathon County to Menominee County. All right. I'll limit the quizzes throughout as long as you promise me you stay awake. I know we're getting late here. Okay. So let's talk about administrative home rule. So until the mid-1980s, counties did not have authority over their own administrative structures. So at that time, counties went to the legislature to obtain what is known as administrative home rule. This authority, though, is not without limitation. So according to the statute, every county may exercise any organizational or administrative power subject only to the Constitution and to any enactment of the legislature which is of statewide concern and which uniformly affects every county. Again, so we do have lots of authority to dictate our own administrative structures. But again, there are limitations to that. One example, and it applies to what happened, the action you guys took today on your appointments. So there was back in 2010, Ozaukee County asked the Attorney General for an opinion because the county administrator wanted to give his appointment authority over to the county board chair. And and argued administrative home rule was the way to do that. Well, the Attorney General said, nope, that's one of those limitations. Within the statutes, county administrators cannot place their appointment authority with the board. So again, you have authority, but sometimes there's limitations to it as well. And again, only within your administrative structures. Self-organized counties. We'll do this one quickly. Chippewa County is a self-organized county. I looked this up. Chippewa County was self-organized in 2002. So what self-organization does is self-organization does provide counties with some flexibility on the manner in which the Board of Supervisors may operate. So for example, if you become a self-organized counties, you have the ability to use staggered terms. And I'll tell you, there's not a single county in the state that does that. You have some flexibility with regard to the compensation of supervisors. Instead of, having a limit to the number of meetings in which you can reimburse a person over the course of the session. For example, if you're a self-organized county, you could set salaries for your board. Also, self-organized counties, you have some flexibility in how you fill county supervisor vacancies. instead of having the board chair appoint with the approval of the board, you could call for a special election. Again, very few counties do that. Now, just because you guys have become a self-organized county, it doesn't mean you've done any of these things. All it means is you have the ability to, by passing that ordinance that you guys did in 2002. If you guys wanted to enact any of those things, it would, you would have to accomplish that through an adoption of a series of ordinances that, again, would have to be approved by the entire board. Again, so being self-organized doesn't require you to do any more than that, but it just gives you some flexibility if you choose to move forward. All right, let's switch a little bit now. Talk a little bit about the 3 types of county government. So all counties are required to have one of 3 forms of county government. You have to have either a county executive, a county administrator, or a county administrative coordinator. And all of these positions look different depending upon what county you're in. So I will, there's this phrase that we hear all the time. You've seen one county, and that is absolutely true. So even though you will have counties that, for example, will have multiple counties with administrative coordinators, they all look very different. And they all, at many times, do some different things. So if we just take a look at this real quick, I am not going to vouch for whether or not these numbers are correct. These things are forever changing. I pulled this slide from somebody else's presentation, but really it just goes to show that we have 12 elected county executives in the state, around 33 appointed county administrators, full-time appointed county administrators, 7 full-time appointed county administrative coordinators. Then we have around 20 or so counties that have somebody who's designated as the administrative coordinator. And again, who that designee is varies very much from one county to the next. You guys have a county administrator. I know I'm not really supposed to say these things, but in my mind, you guys are set really well with the county administrator form of government. I can't begin to tell you for counties that don't have that full-time position, how difficult it is for them to conduct their business. I will say it this way. If you have a large business, a multi-million-dollar business, what multi-million-dollar business doesn't have a CEO? Somebody who's kind of looking over all the parts of it to make sure that everything runs as a well-oiled machine. And that's what you guys have when you set up your county administrator form of government, is you set yourself up for a structure where you have somebody who can take a look at all the parts and make sure everything in the county is running well. And that's what I like about the county administrator form of government as opposed to the administrative coordinator. So I don't suggest you guys go back. So in terms of the 3 forms of government, county executive, they're the chief executive officer of the county. Their authorities are outlined in 5917 of the statutes. If you're a county over 750,000 in population, you're required to have a county executive. If you are a county less than 750,000 in population, you have the option to have a county executive, and the county board can make the decision to move to a county executive, or it could be done by petition and referendum as well. And we've seen it done both ways across the state. The county executive, again, serves as the chief executive officer of the county. It's the role as the executive to really enforce the laws. So it is the job of the county executive to make sure that county ordinances, state laws, federal laws are observed within their county and within the county's authority. The county executive really coordinates and directs all administrative and management functions of the county. They appoint and supervise department heads. They appoint members of boards and commissions. The county executive also has the ability to veto actions of the county board. County administrator, again, the form of government you guys have here in Chippewa County. Your county administrator is appointed by a majority vote of the county board. The position of county administrator is created by resolution of the board, or again, by petition and referendum. Your county administrator serves as the chief administrator of the county. They're responsible for coordinating all administrative and management functions not vested by law with other officers. Again, very similar to the language that is used in the statute for the county executive. The county administrator appoints and supervises department heads with board confirmation. The county administrator also appoints members to boards and commissions, subject to board confirmation. The county administrator also submits an annual budget. The two biggest differences between the county executive and the county administrator is that the county administrator answers to the county board of supervisors. So you guys have, hiring and firing authority over the county administrator, whereas a county executive is subject to the vote of the people. The other difference, of course, is the county administrator does not have the ability to veto actions of the county board. The statute also does provide some guidance to county boards as to what they should be looking for in a county administrator. The statute says that the county administrator shall be appointed based solely on merit. And in appointing the county administrator, the board shall give due regard to training, experience, administrative ability, and their general qualifications and fitness for performing the duties of the office. And you can't appoint somebody as county administrator who doesn't meet those requirements. They also make it clear that no weight or consideration shall be given by the board to the residence, nationality, or to political or religious affiliations. So that's the administrator position. Administrative coordinator, again, not going to spend a lot of time on this because you guys already have a county administrator, but their duties are found in 5919 of the statute. Typically, for most counties, if you don't have a full-time county administrator or a county executive, then they have, by law, you are required to give somebody the title of administrative coordinator. Typically, we're required to do that so that the state has a contact person for each and every county. And it's hard for me to really tell you what the administrative coordinator does. Yes, they coordinate these things. They don't manage them. They more so coordinate them. However, administrative coordinator is so different depending upon what county you're in. Some have a full-time administrative coordinator, but they don't have the appointment authorities that a full-time administrator does. Some counties designate their county clerk as their administrative coordinator. Some counties have their IT department head or their human services department head serve as their administrative coordinator. So they're serving and wearing multiple hats in that capacity. The only thing you can't do is the county board chair cannot serve as the administrative coordinator, according to an AG's opinion. Those positions have been found to be incompatible, but I'll tell you, we do still have a couple of counties in the state that do that. Again, their position, an AG's opinion is simply that, an opinion. They felt their structure works well for their county, and so they don't feel they need to change unless there's a law change associated with that. All right, let's get off the administration and let's talk about the county board and what your functions and roles are. So as a member of the county board, you serve in a legislative capacity. Now this differs from, say, the commission form of county government, which I'm not going to talk at all about today, but if you ever go to a national conference or a NACO conference and you hear people talking about county commissioners, you guys are apples and oranges, okay? So if you hear that term, you do not do the exact same thing, all right? So I just want to put a caution there. So county supervisors perform your legislative function through the adoption of such things as your resolutions and ordinances. You perform your legislative function through the adoption of plans, whether that's a strategic plan, whether it's a land use plan, and you guys also perform your legislative function through your approval of the annual budget. But all of your work as a board is done cooperatively, and you do it all collectively as a board. No individual county supervisor has unilateral authority over county operations. In fact, the board itself does not really play a role in the day-to-day operations of the county. It is your county administrator's job. And he walked out when I'm going to say this, but it is his job to oversee the day-to-day operations of the county
and it is your job to set the policy. And I found it interesting because as your economic development the head was speaking, he was very much making a lot of my points, talking about you guys as a board set this policy whenever, and then we as the staff went and implemented it. That's exactly what we're talking about here in terms of the legislative function of the county board. So your role in operations, again, is really done through the setting of expectations, the setting of outcomes, and then you evaluate the progress in meeting those particular outcomes that you have set. All right, now on this slide, there's just a couple of points I want to make. First, while state statute does discuss certain specific duties for the county board chair, if you read the statutes, there is absolutely nothing in statute with regard to the role of an individual county supervisor. The statutes are silent on your role. But again, we know that a supervisor's authority is collective rather than individual. That means that no individual supervisor has the authority to act on behalf of the board unless you would be authorized by your board to do so. The last point I want to make on this slide talks about your title as a county board supervisor. Now, that term, one could argue, is really more a historical term, going back to the time when we had to decide whether or not Wisconsin was going to use the New York model, Pennsylvania model, whether we were going to have supervisors or whether we were going to have commissioners. It is not meant to be a descriptive term for what it is you do. So again, you should ask yourselves, do supervisors really supervise anything? Not really. And we can thank the legislature for giving us a term and calling you guys something that doesn't really reflect what your true role is at the county level. So, really simply put here, the county board, you adopt policy. The board holds staff accountable for implementing that policy. And when you want to hold staff accountable for implementing that policy, who do you go see? Go see that guy sitting over there, okay? Because Randy is your employee. He's an employee of the board. So if there is a problem, if there is an issue, you go see Randy, okay? Now, your role as a board is really to be that of a visionary. Now stop and think for a minute. How important is it to be told that your job and your role is to be that of a visionary? Now, many of us don't go home at night, and our spouses don't tell us, wow, you are such a visionary. Man, you know, you guys go home and hear that every night about your role on the county board being a visionary? No, but that is what your job is. It is your job as policymakers to think about the long term. It is your job to think about what are the key issues facing our county, and what is it? What types of policies can we set as a board to address those key issues? You guys are the long-term thinkers. We know where our county wants to be in 10 years. Or where do we want our county to be in 10 years? Let's decide where that is. Let's set some policies and set our staff to work to get us to our goals. So you guys are truly the visionaries here when it comes to where the county is going to be headed. Now, you guys have other roles as well, you know, these perfunctory roles and duties that are performed. Obviously, you guys you represent the public, you're accountable to the public. You guys have to determine what services are going to be provided. You guys adopt a budget and you levy taxes. But really, your primary function here as a county board is to enact policy. All right, so the statute, though, while it does not talk about any sort of role or responsibilities specifically to individual county supervisors, there are some statutory duties listed for the county board chair. Specifically, the statute talks about the board chair countersigning ordinances, presiding at meetings when they're present, and administering oaths to persons who are required to be sworn. But then there are other duties that are typical of the chair of a board. And those include such things as serving as a spokesperson for the board and providing guidance and direction on how issues move through the board. Another section of the statute, 5913, talks about the county board chair's role in terms of making committee appointments. All right, standing committees. So we'll talk real quickly here about committees and the committee functions. So committees really play a pretty significant role in the policy development process, and committees are oftentimes the first place in which major policies for the county are going to be discussed. So your committees provide policy oversight for departments, offices, and other entities. As a committee, you're going to monitor performance. As a committee, you're going to review and make budget recommendations. A lot of times, the first stop for your ordinances and resolutions are going to be to the appropriate standing committee. Or as a committee, you may work with some of your department heads as well in developing and drafting ordinances as a committee to bring before the full board. But really, as a standing committee, your function is really to assist the board in its role, in its function in developing policy. Now, most committees are structured so that the committees do much of the preliminary work, and then the committee makes recommendations to the full board. Depending upon what committee you're on, you guys are going to become experts in that field. You guys are going to learn a lot about your community. If you're on the Human Services Committee, for example, you're going to learn a lot about the needs of your community. You're going to learn about, what types of services might be needed. How many people in your community are struggling with behavioral health issues, for example? Or how many people within your community are suffering or in need of some sort of public health service? You guys are going to become expert in those types of things. And in learning these types of things as part of a committee will help you guys develop better policies to help move your county forward in years to come. So you guys, again, you'll get to know your community, you'll get to know the programs that are provided by your county, and then you'll get to, provide some insight as to what else needs to be done for you guys to again, best serve those citizens within Chippewa County. Now let's talk about the staff roles and responsibilities. Because staff do play a significant role in assisting you with your policy development role. But supervisors and department heads really do have vastly different roles. County supervisors serve primarily in a legislative role. Staff serve in an operational role, as well as they can serve in an advisory capacity to the board. So staff have an obligation to carry out duties in a manner that's consistent with the policy direction of the board. They make recommendations and they give professional advice, but they are not the policy makers. You are. The only policy that a department head may make might be policy as it relates to the internal working operations of their department, some of the day-to-day stuff. All right. When we talk about, again, the administration, you guys, we talked about you guys being visionaries, right? So you guys are thinking longer term. Your departments and your department heads and staff are really thinking shorter term. They're working on the day-to-day operations of the county. They might be looking at some smaller functions. Your staff are those folks that you guys have on board to pay attention to detail, which oftentimes require specialized training by a lot of your employees. Now, this next slide, this is always a fun one and sometimes can get us in trouble when we talk about it. Because when the county hires staff, what do you guys look for in your staff? You guys look for the best and brightest within your communities, right? When you're hiring staff. You want to make sure your staff has the proper education for the job you're looking for them to do. You'd like them to have some experience in that position. You want to make sure that they can pass a background check and they can be bonded and that they're professionally current and they're participating in all their professional associations, keeping up with the latest and greatest as it comes to their job position, right? Now, what qualifications do you need to run for the county board? You have to be 18, right? You can't be a felon, and you have to live in your district, okay? So that's a little bit different than what we're looking for in our staff. Now, that all being said, county boards are full of bright, talented people, and we need you guys to be. But again, we need you guys to be thinking about things longer term, broader, right? Your staff needs that experience, the education, their professional credentials to carry out, again, your policies and to make the things that you want to have happen, happen. So again, while your role is very different than that, and I think a lot of the county board members, typically, you have folks from many, many different walks of life that sit on county boards. And that's a good thing, because that helps you guys develop, I think, a better policy moving forward. So in terms of policy versus administration, your board, you guys asked the questions, the whats and the whys. The administration, basically takes care of where, when, and how. Again, this is just a quick example that we typically use on this one. Policy, will the county establish a hiking trail system, and will the system benefit the county? That's going to be the debate that comes before the county board. But then the county staff and the administration, once you make the decision to establish that hiking trail, then your administration talks about, well, who maintains the system? How are we going to maintain the system? How quickly do we need to get this up and running? And, where will this system need to be maintained based upon its usage, right? So these are the types of questions that are policy versus the types of questions that you deal with on the admin side of things. Now, in terms of a leadership role, department heads, of course, the non-elected ones, have the leadership role in their departments within the guidelines of the policies and procedures set by the board and clarified through directives from the executive or the administrator. And again, this slide, individual county board supervisors have no management or leadership role outside of committees and commissions. Their authority is collective as a member of the board. This is the nice way of saying what is oftentimes referred to as the commandment of county boards: thou shalt not micromanage, okay? This is a nicer way of saying that. Okay, now, the courts at times have gotten involved in determining what the distinction is between policy and an administration. There was a court case that came out of Outagamie County. Real quickly on the facts of the case, there was a farmer that wanted to lease land around the county airport. The FAA had no problem with the county leasing that land to the airport, so the county board took action to direct the county to enter into an agreement with the farmer to lease the land to the farmer so the farmer could, grow crops or whatever the farmer was going to do on the land. But the county executive had a problem with it. The county executive said, I don't really care that the county board directed the administration to do this. I, as the county executive, don't feel it is a safe thing to do. Therefore, I am not going to execute a lease between the county and the farmer. And this is what the court said. The court said that the county board's function is primarily policy making and legislative, while the county executive functions as an administrator and manager. Policy has been defined as a high-level overall plan embracing the general goals and acceptable procedures, especially of a governmental body. Legislative power, as distinguished from executive power, is the authority to make laws, but not to enforce them, or appoint the agents charged with the duty of such enforcement. The crucial test for determining what is legislative and what is administrative has been said to be whether the ordinance is one making a new law or one executing a law already in existence. So I think this court case is just a good example of the varying roles between the legislative policy-making function of the county board as opposed to the administrative and management functions of county staff. So what happens if we don't have this distinction between policy and administration? Again, you as a board would spend an awful lot of time on the trivial matters, but more importantly, I won't read through all of these things. I'll let you guys do that when you have time. But really, it's an issue of reactivity versus proactivity. As the board, again, you guys are visionary. We want you guys to be proactive. We don't want you reacting to every little thing and item that happens within a department or within the county. you guys, again, be proactive. Where do you guys want to go as a county? You know, take a leadership role in that. Now, everything we talked about, sometimes the statutes like to throw us for a little bit of a loop, right? So there are sometimes separate statutes. There are many, many statutes, for example, that govern the Human Services Department where there could be some variation. There's also a statute in particular. This is probably the best example would be the County Highway Commissioner in terms of the authority of the Highway Commissioner as a policymaker versus an administrator. So under Chapter 83, the County Highway Commissioner is in a unique position by having greater administrative authority and greater policy-making authority than other department heads. So if you were to read the statutes, 83.015 sub 2 lists the powers and duties of the County Highway Committee. I am not going to read this section of the statute for you tonight. It is a very lovely statute. The point here with that statute is within the statute, there is a sub to it that basically says, even though these are the powers and duties of the County Highway Committee, if your highway commissioner is appointed by a county executive or a county administrator, those duties that are listed for the highway committee no longer are the duties of the highway committee, but they transfer to and become the duties of the county highway commissioner. So again, even though we spent a lot of time talking about admin versus policy making, sometimes in the statute there are special cases and special circumstances where sometimes those roles might get a little blurred. And the highway commissioner is one of those cases. So, as we're wrapping up here. So this is what a typical org chart looks like for a county that has a county administrator. So you have the county board, hires the county administrator, who hires the department heads, who hires county staff. Or we go the opposite way. County staff is accountable to the department head. The department heads are accountable to the county administrator, and the county administrator is accountable to the county board. And of course, we have our county committees thrown in there as well that work in conjunction and, you know, and make those recommendations to the county board. But there's another set of county staff and county elected officials we haven't talked about yet. And those are the county constitutional officers. And where would they fall on this org chart? The county constitutional officers are oftentimes referred to as having a dual persona. I didn't make that up. I blame Andy Phillips. He's our general counsel. He's the smart lawyer that I go to when I have questions, and I say, hey, Andy. And so when he talks about roles and responsibilities, he references the county constitutional officers as having a dual persona. And the reason he does that is because our county constitutional officers, as you know, are independently elected officials, but they do have to work within the county structure. So oftentimes they'll report to a county committee. They will talk to the county committee about what's going on within their offices. They receive funding from the county board through the county budget process. They work very closely with county administration. They have staff that are employees of the county. But we have to understand that because they are independently elected, they do serve and have an independent role as well. So, last several slides. We're going to go through kind of a big summary real quickly, these next 4 slides or so. But these slides, this next set of slides, provides really tips on how the staff and the board can best work together in order to better serve the citizens of counties. So, as a board member, you should know your job and try not to interfere with that of the administration. Devote the time needed to do a good job. Read the background materials the administration prepares. I can't tell you over 30 years the number of county board meetings I have attended, or even WCA Board of Directors meetings I have attended. Now, you guys can get away with it a little more now because you have iPads, but before that, have you ever been to a meeting where somebody brings in the envelope, rips open the envelope for the first time, as the meeting starts, they're pulling out their packet and they have not reviewed any of the information. Again, because you guys are setting policy and you're the visionaries for the county, please be prepared for your meetings. Admit what you don't know. It's okay to ask questions. Also, do not jump to conclusions. Instead, hear and weigh all of the facts. Don't make promises outside of your board meetings, not only for legal reasons, but also out of respect for the ethics of the situation and regard for the other board members, the administration, and employees. Listen to what your constitutional officers and employees have to offer. Let them know that you are listening. You know, I say oftentimes when you're developing policy, you know, your employees, your department heads can be a real asset to you when you're doing that. If someone complains to you about a member of the administration, listen to them, but don't just outright agree, because again, you may not have all of the facts. So being supportive of the administration shows that you have confidence in yourself and in the county management team. If a complaint is serious, ask the person who's doing the complaining to put it in writing. And then from there, make sure you guys know what your county complaint process is. Do not try to resolve the issues as a supervisor on your own. Again, this is where Randy comes into play. It's his job to look into and resolve issues with regard to employee concerns or with regard to how a program is administered. Okay, that is Randy's job. It is your job to share the information, but it is Randy's job to take care of it. So staff has an obligation to remain politically neutral. They should never take a position based on politics. And supervisors should not assume staff are taking a side if the answer they receive on a professional question is not what they hoped for. I know I ask an awful lot of questions, and I don't always get the answer I look for, but it doesn't mean the person has something against me. It just means I didn't understand, potentially, the issue, and therefore, again, don't assume that if you don't get the answer you need, it's because, you know, it's for some reason other than what it truly is. All right, some key points to remember here. Counties are a creature of the state. Counties can only do what the statutes and Constitution allow. County boards are to serve as a legislative body which sets policy, approves annual budgets, and makes cooperative decisions. County boards work most effectively when utilizing a strong committee system. County committees do much of the preliminary work prior to making recommendations to the full board. Again, you monitor performance, you review and develop a budget, you make recommendations, and you draft ordinances and resolutions. Individual county supervisors have no management or leadership role outside of county committees or commissions. County administration and department heads are to implement the policies and procedures of the board. Micromanaging stifles productivity of county operations. And finally, the board and administrative team working cohesively and cooperatively provides the best chance of success in meeting the needs of county residents. All right, we have resources for you, questions and comments. I list not only myself, but also Andy Phillips, who is a huge resource for us at the association. Your corp counsel, again, utilize your corp counsel, utilize Randy. If you guys have questions, utilize the resources that are available to you in your county as well. So with that, I don't know if there's time for questions or.
Yes.
All right.
Any questions by the board? Supervisor Ives.
Thank you, Sarah. I just wanted to know, because I know when I was new on the board, we get a letter in our mailboxes downstairs about being on the WCA board. Could you just touch on that a little bit?
Oh, and the WCA Board of Directors?
Yeah, the other committees like the Highway Committee.
Yeah.
Human Services.
Okay, so I'll talk about our steering committees. I think that's what you're referencing. Yes. Okay, I didn't think you were talking about our Board of Directors, but you're talking about our steering committees. So WCA has 5 policy steering committees that serve very much like a committee of the county board does, where they provide policy recommendations to the WCA Board of Directors. Those 5 committees are Agriculture, Environment, and Land Use, Health and Human Services, Judicial and Public Safety, Transportation and Public Works, Then we combined a couple, and I'm trying to think their title is something like County Org, Finance, and Personnel, something to that effect. So you guys will be receiving shortly via email. So I'm a paper person. A lot of our members are paper persons. I know our counties are getting away from the use of paper. So as we did in 2020, when we weren't in our offices to make copies and mail things out, we are going to send an email out to all county officials inviting you to join one of our steering committees. The process is simple. You fill out a form that basically says, here's my name, here's my address, here's how long I've been in office. And then I reach out to the county board chair and ask the county board chair to approve those appointments. So it's as simple as that. Again, these committees meet 3 times a year. In July of this year, it'll be a big meeting for each of our 5 steering committees, not only because in July of every year, our steering committees make recommendations on the resolutions that get taken up at our annual business meeting, but every other year, our steering committees provide recommendations to our board on our legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session. So again, probably in the next week or so, you'll be seeing an email from us. Please consider joining one of those 5 committees. The other thing I will mention, because you're going to say, Sarah, you just mentioned 5 committees. At our June Board of Directors meeting, we are asking the Board of Directors to create a 6th committee, which will be UW Extension and Education. And the reason we're doing this is there were a number of changes made through Extension over the last several years. There used to be a separate board called, I don't remember even what they were, but then they became WEXA, or Wisconsin Extension Association, came under WCA, but only 21 counties paid dues to that association. And when I took over the duties of administering that organization as part of my new job, I took a look at it and said, why do we only want 21 counties to have the ability to participate in these discussions? So the WEXA board met on Monday to officially dissolve themselves. And we have agreed to create a steering committee to discuss those issues as well. So there will be a 6th steering committee. You won't see that one though on the announcement next week for steering committees, because our board still has to officially amend our bylaws to create it on June 3rd. So, any other questions? You guys gonna make this easy on me? I appreciate that. All right, anytime you guys have questions about an issue, whether it has to do with roles and responsibilities or parliamentary procedure or anything like that, feel free to use me as your first point of contact at the association in my new role. You know, if you just call the office, I don't know who I need to talk to, just ask for Sarah, and I will make sure we get you guys the answer and get you the information that you need. So, all right. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your meeting. And again, welcome to all of you new board supervisors to the county family, and welcome back to those of you that are returning supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. At this time, I have all kinds of notes. It says, please give us a 5-minute break. So we will take a 5-minute break at this.
Kind of, yes. It's
Okay, we'll come back into session. Everybody have their seats. You ready to go? I might break the. So really.
I don't know if we've ever used.
Did you work at Clingers in the summer?
Okay.
Most kids.
Lori is going to give us an update on the finance division.
Hi, my name is Lori Sweevelover. I'm the finance director. I will have 30 years in here in August. I started out at the highway department for 5 years, and then I have moved down to, back in that day, it was when we had a county administrative coordinator position. And it was our county board chair was the county administrator at that, or administrative coordinator, I'm sorry, at that time. So we were called county auditor's office. And then with the changeover, it was probably like 2006, 7. When it's this many years, guys, I don't remember. So that's my history, a little bit about myself. So. All right, so this is just a little overview of what we'll be talking about. So the first thing we'll talk about is, this is the finance division mission statement. Really, I think the gist of it is that we are really close to what the strategic plan is that we want to make sure to provide good financial information for the resident, for you to be able to put together policies for the residents of Chippewa County. This is just, it's not an exhaustive list of our finance responsibilities, but it's just a summary. Here is our finance team members. There's 3 of us in the central finance team, and the rest of, and we're in the DOA suite, and the rest of the team members are housed in other dedicated departments. We have 5 team members in human services. We have 1 team member in each of these departments: public health, highway, LCFM, and sheriff's department. But here's just a little overview of our budget. Just remember, this is just for the 3 of us. It also includes all of our audit costs. It's called the indirect cost audit, our financial system. And I think that one of your important roles is going to be the county annual budget process. We have a very condensed annual budget process. We started in May. Next month, I'll be giving you a presentation about the budget. And then in June and July, at your policy committees, you're going to meet, and the department head is going to bring forward these budgets. And then September, Randy will give you like a preliminary tax levy for each of the departments about what they're increasing. And then, let's see here, in October, that's when it's given to the exec committee. And then it's published in the paper. Chippewa Herald is the paper that it's published in. Then in November, we'll have 2 county board meetings. One is always the first Thursday of November, and that's called the budget hearing. This is where the public comes in and can discuss items on the budget about what they like or don't like. And then you as a county board are actually adopt a balanced budget. And when I say a balanced budget, it means revenues, which include tax levy, would equal expenses. Then the second meeting is held on the following Tuesday, and it's really just a formality of approving the tax levy portion by resolution that was approved the previous Thursday. All right, so this is our budget at a glance. Our total budget is $99,416,815. And those are when we call it function, it's an accounting term for governmental accounting, but it's really just like different areas of government. So you'll have the public safety, which would be like the sheriff's department, emergency management, and the coroner. Conservation and development would be land conservation, planning and zoning, and parks. Transportation is highway. Extension, that's pretty easy to know. Health and social services is actually our human services, public health, and veterans. And then the last bigger one is general government. That's just like the catch-all of all those other departments that we have. You know, we have the county board's expenses, we have the county clerk, county treasurer, Department of Administration, so all those other departments. And so over on the right-hand side is also showing that's the actual tax levy. So that we have in the county, we have $20,638,711. So that just shows the distribution between those different areas of government. So that's why the pies are different because of how they're funded. This is just showing the total revenues and the breakout. So you'll see down there on the bottom, there's that green color, the intergovernmental grants and aid. That's usually like our state aid, federal aid type of situation. The other large one is the property tax levy, which is that blue one up on top at 21%. Then on the back side, because we have a balanced budget, we have the expenses, which are exactly the same amount. And on this slide, you'll see that the ratio is 38% approximately for wages and benefits for employees, and the other operational costs in the blue are the rest. This is a little different. It's a little skewed, I would say, from previous years. Previous years, we were always about 50% wages and benefits and 50% operational costs is what I would call it, because that's your contracted services and all the other overhead like lights and all that kind of thing. But this year for 2022, we had to add a budget for being a self-funded health insurance that we became, that was effective on January 1st of this year. That we added about $8 million to our budget for that. And then the second thing we added was about $6.2 million for ARPA, because we know we're going to get a second, tranche of money, they call it a tranche of money that we expect to get. So we added that in the budget. So that's why it's really large. So that's increasing the operational costs. And another component of the budget is sales tax. You'll see over on the left-hand side, that's the distribution that we've had in the past, or for the 2022 budget. And then over on the right-hand side, it's just some little fun facts about sales tax. So that is in Chapter 2 of the ordinances, section 2-361. And right here is just a little historical snapshot of the levy limits, equalized value, tax rate review. You'll see a lot of this during budget. That's in the presentation document. And the good thing about what's happening is we've been able to lower our tax rate through the years, and a lot of it is because of our equalized valuation has went up. This is a number that we get from the state of Wisconsin, and what it's really trying to show you is that we have growth. So it's kind of goes, I do agree, Charlie Walker's right, it's just showing Chippewa County is having growth, so that's a good thing. Another component that we'll be talking a lot about, starting in June for sure with you guys, is the capital improvement program. You're going to always hear us call it CIP. We always call it CIP. So that's our acronym. So it was implemented in 2012. And then in June, the county administrator will present a 5-year plan for you guys. And something that's really important to know is that even though we present a 5-year plan, you're only truly going to approve the projects for the following year. So so you're going to approve the 2023 projects, and then the 24 through 27. Those are going to be they're just going to be placeholders for us. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is down at the bottom, the capital project criteria. The total project must be more than, or $50,000 or more, and have a useful life of more than 3 years or extend the life of an existing asset. And so just to give you a little history about what's been going on. So for the last 3 years, for 2022 through 2020, 2020 through 2022, we've used sales tax for $7,467,300 for projects. And in that same year period, we've used $4 million of bonding money. And I said before that we're in the process of developing the 2023 through 2027 CIP plan right now. We've been working with the department heads, and Randy will be bringing that forward here in June. I know this is probably not easy to see on the screen, but this is just a little snapshot of last year's CIP that was approved for the 2022 budget. And here's the future time, or the budget, the CIP budget timeline. And you'll see it talks about June. I'm sorry, I guess I explained it a lot there about June. Another thing that's going to happen is we're going to be talking to you guys about bonding. Chippewa County currently has a AA1 bonding, which is the second highest rating through Moody's. It's really important. That's something Randy and I really look into a lot, just to make sure that we can keep this good rate, or that good rating, because it's important so that we can keep our bond interest rate lower. So we want to make sure whatever we can control, we try, because there's other things that we can't control, like the economic condition of Chippewa County itself, like the citizens, the community. So there are some things we have no control on, but what we can control, we want to control, so we want to think ahead. The other thing I'd like to, you'll hear me talk about this many times, by the way. Chippewa County's goal is always to bond about every 2 years. The reason why we want to do this is we want to maintain an annual debt payment of about $1.85 million of bond payments per year. And the reason why we want to do that is when you have new debt, that helps you have additional money for levy for project, or for your operations. There's some counties that use, let me just put it this way, we end up paying for our bond payments, annual bond payments, through sales tax. And then what we're able to do is use more bonding or levy money to pay for operations. If that would go away, then we have to make up that next year, I think we're at 1.5 for 2023 that we'll have for bond payments if we don't bond again. So that would mean we'd have to cut $300,000 of tax levy in our budget. And last year, we were $31,095 from our tax levy limit. So that would be a real hard thing to do. We'd have to look at services and such to see what would have to be reduced. And just so you know, we'll be in June, we'll be bringing an initial resolution for you guys to review to begin the process for bonding. And something that we always usually bond for is highway construction projects, because there's no other, we can't raise levy to be able to bond, so that's how we're able to try to pay for some projects at the highway department. And I included it's just a draft bonding scenario that we're looking at. So way over on the left-hand side is where our existing debt levy is. I know it's really hard to see. But then in this box right there, that just shows you for the next that would be the next 8 years of what we were, just as a plan. It can definitely change. We can't forecast what might change. So, but what this is really important is that the combined debt service would stay right around that 1.8 that we're looking for to maintain. And here's the bonding timeline that's gonna come through. Okay, now we're gonna switch gears. Now we're gonna talk about my friend ARPA. Okay, it's sarcastic, sorry. It's the American Rescue Plan Act funding. So our current estimate that Chippewa County is gonna receive is $12,559,059. And so we got half of it back on May 19th of in May of 2021. And our second payment here is expected, I think, in the middle to late May, and maybe even early June. So you can see down there at the bottom, there were 4 allowable areas of usage. A was the response to the public health emergency. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to summarize because you can read that at your leisure. B would be premium pay for essential workers. C was a revenue loss, and the D is the one you can't see down there. That would be investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. And something that's really important is that we have to spend this $12.5 million by December 31st of 2024, or have it obligated by contract through 2026 in order. Otherwise, we will have to pay whatever we don't have obligated, pay it back to the federal government. And that table below just shows the process to date of what we've done with ARPA. And here is just the next steps of what's going to happen with ARPA. So you'll want to put this on your calendars. On May 24th, we have a special county board meeting for that public listening session for the draft plan. At this meeting, public will be welcome to discuss the items on the draft plan along with other options. Also at this meeting, Randy will share a presentation more in depth about ARPA. So I know it's kind of cheap what I'm doing right now, but it's just a summary. And at the July 12th meeting, that is when Randy is going to bring the final plan to you guys with a supporting resolution for your approval. And this is my last slide. This is just another funding mechanism that's coming through. I'm sure you probably have heard about it. So the feds approved, they called it the Investment in Infrastructure Jobs Act. And there's a certain part of it that's called bipartisan infrastructure law. We call it Bill and IIJA. But as you can see, the Highway Department, I think Brian alluded to it, or maybe Randy alluded to last Tuesday, that the Highway Department is already fast-tracked on 3 projects, as you can see right there. So that's a really good thing. And if these projects are approved, we would have the 80% of construction would be funded by the BIL, and the remaining funds would have to be the county's responsibility. So we'd be either using sales tax or bonding or some sort to pay for them. I know I was quick, but I know I didn't want to have another night like the last time. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board?
All right.
Thank you, Laurie. Becky,
I know it's fine.
clerk is on.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, but I hope most of you know who I am at this point, my name is Jackie Sadler, County Clerk for Chippewa County. So I'm going to go through some orientation information. Some of it's going to be specifically about my office. Then some of it is the role that we play with all of you. And then because you are kind of a trapped audience, we're going to go over some information on elections. My favorite topic. So the statutory role, which you heard Sarah say, is in statute 59. So for the county clerk's office, it's 59.23. We have 3 major services: election administration. which would be like programming the election equipment, preparing ballots, canvassing election results, and ensuring the integrity of the election process, which again, I will go into more detail about, and I will make the disclaimer now. I will only talk about what happens here in Chippewa County. I cannot attest to what happens in other counties or other states. The second is legislative support and administrative services. So I am the clerk for the county board. And so you'll see that with the agendas and minutes and some of the other duties that we do with in partnership with you. And then also responsible for apportioning the taxes for the municipality, well, the municipalities in Chippewa County. And the third statutory requirement is licensing. So we do issue marriage licenses. We work with the dog licenses with the municipalities, and then we issue work permits. Along with that, we are also a agent to accept passport applications for the Department of State. We are the only location in Chippewa County that is a passport agency acceptance. And then we also issue timber notices. A side note, Monday there was not school in a couple of the communities, and Amanda and I were in the office, Lisa was out, and we processed 51 passport applications in 2 days, which is insane on top of the 6 or 7 marriage licenses and just our regular everyday activities. So people are definitely traveling now. So some other duties for our office is we are a notary service. We do the minutes and agendas for obviously the county board. Lisa does the agendas and minutes for Economic Development Committee, and Amanda does legal and law. And then we kind of team up to do ag and extension. I'm the lead person for that, but there might be times when they need to. Plus, we are the backup for other committees. We've helped fill in if the clerk for other committees can't be there. We do all the paper ordering and delivery for all the county departments. All the incoming mail comes to our office. We sort it for all the departments, and all the outgoing mail comes to our office, and we process that so it gets sent out. Room reservations for the public, conference rooms, vehicle reservations for employees that have to take a county vehicle out. We handle all of those. And then we offer copying, laminating, and folding services for internal departments and then also external. And we are a DNR licensing service, so if you need to get your fishing license, come see us. We check the county Dropbox every morning, and we also sell the plat books for land records, and we sell stamps and movie tickets. Just some fun things. I say this every year, and I don't know why. At some point, I promise our department will take a decent, nice picture, but this is the staff in your county clerk department. We did win the Halloween costume contest this year down there, you'll see. We were the punny bees. I was queen bee. Amanda was the honey bee, and then Lisa was the spelling bee. And then we did not win for our Christmas door decorations, but you can see we were home alone. I have been in my position for 5 years. I was appointed in 2017 by this nonpartisan board. Well, not you guys, but this board. And then I was reelected or elected first time in 2020. Lisa is the deputy county clerk. She is full-time in our office. She has been with the department 31 years, so I'm extremely thankful to have her and her history. Then we have Amanda Richardson. She is part-time in our office, and then she's 3 days in our office, 2 days a week in the veterans office, but she's been with the county 11 years, and 10 of those years have been in the county clerk office. So we have a lot of history here. So information for you guys. All your payroll comes through our office. We enter that in for finance. It is monthly, so it goes from the day after the county board meeting to the next county board meeting. And there's the salaries for the chair, vice chair, and then you guys will get your $70 a month $70 a month salary, and then your per diems and mileage. The per diem is $35 a meeting, and we will get to the slip. The slip will be when you go to your committee meetings, your committee chair will need to sign it, or the county board chair needs to sign any meeting forms, and then those are turned into us. My request, I think it's in here, is that These should be turned in monthly. Occasionally, we have a supervisor that thinks that they will just hold on to all of them for months at a time to get one big check for Christmas or whatever it is they decide. Please do not do that. Please turn them in monthly, because we do have to enter them by hand, so. And then we'll go through the reimbursement form if you have to travel, like overnight for a conference or education. And anything that would be outside of normal committee meetings does need to be authorized prior to the meeting by the county board chair, unless it would be through WCA, which we'll go through. And all of that, again, comes to our office. You'll need the meeting agenda and any receipts to go along with the paperwork. This is very small, but it is out on the website as well, but this is the county board payroll calendar. Again, it'll be in your packet, but this also out on the website. This is the per diem slip. This is the form that you'll either sign or take with you, and I apologize, I was gonna bring extra forms with me today to hand out, but you can get them anytime at our office. I can also email it to you if you prefer. When you're at a committee meeting here at the county, the meeting clerk will have this, and then right here under members, this is where you'll sign that you were there, and then it gets turned in to us. If you are on one of those committees that doesn't meet in the county, you'll need to fill out this form and then attach the agenda and then turn it in to me. A lot of people will just bring them to the next county board meeting when we're here. You can also scan it to me as well. If you're going to travel for a conference or a committee meeting and you would like to take a county vehicle, you'll need to contact us and I can get that reserved for you. If you choose
challenges in shipping and logistics.
No, that scared me. If you choose to take your own vehicle, you will get reimbursed for mileage, but it is at the.
Strategies. We'll show you how today.
With Karma Drive, you can track
Sorry,
your
Yep.
this.
which can mark on car insurance.
I got a mind of its own. Sorry.
All right. Again, if it's a non-WCA conference, the county board chair will need to approve it. And then all conference registrations and hotel reservations are made through our office. There is a couple that I want to show you. So I did this presentation before we had this flyer. This flyer that says listen, learn, lead. This is the one that Sarah had. This is in your white envelope I gave you Tuesday night. It's upside down. So this is that COWS, the county officials workshop. If you want to attend this, let me know and I'll get you registered and we'll get everything set up for you. And that's again on May 11th down in Eau Claire. The other, and then you can do it virtually as well. The other conference is September 18th to the 20th, which is the WCA annual conference. And this year it will be held at the Kalahari Resort in the Wisconsin Dells. It's way better than when they hold it in La Crosse. I am. Those that have been there understand that. It sounds like that's far away, but May 2nd, which is 2 weeks, that's when the hotel reservations open up. If you want to go, you need to tell me before May 2nd, because at 8 o'clock that morning, we're on the phone trying to get rooms for everyone. They will fill up. It's better if you think you want to go. It's better for us to get you a room and then cancel later. We'll hold off on the conference registration till later. Also, a benefit, first-time county board supervisors who attend the conference, the county does not have to pay for you to attend. WCA offers that as a free conference for the first year. So something to keep in mind. This is what we call the long form. So if you were to go to a conference that you have to travel, you're gonna have a hotel. Usually, if we know ahead of time, we just take care of, like I said, all of it. And we pay for everything up front for like the hotel. But this would also have the meal reimbursement. And if you're gonna travel, we can go through this form more detail with you one-on-one. All right, I know that you all know that you have email. You also have a physical mailbox here in the building. There are times when other organizations, WCA especially, likes to send you things. They will send it to me and we put it in your mailbox. I'm not gonna name any names, but there are 2 supervisors that I just cleaned out their mailboxes that did not take anything out in the last 2 years. Please don't do that. I have to throw it all away. But the mailboxes are located in room 104, which is the finance division part where Lori is. However, that door is locked. You'll have to go through where Randy and Tracy are. and kind of navigate your way back there. If you need help finding it, Tracy or Randy can help, I can help. We will get you there. Don't ask me in 2 years. Carrie?
Does that mean we can't go through corp council anymore?
You could go there too. Either way is fine. Depends on which person you want to say hi to, I guess. So meetings and agendas. You do on your iPad have what that little icon, so it's called Minute Track. That's the software we use for the minutes and agendas. Also, you can get to all that information out on the website. If you look on the website down there on the corner, it says meetings and agendas. You click on that. It will take you to a screen that looks like this. In this box up here, that's where you can pick what meeting it is. So if you're looking for a specific one of your committees, otherwise for the county board, that's what it picks up. And you can see it has the upcoming meeting dates and also has past meetings. So especially if you're looking at maybe some of the committees, if you want to look at some of the stuff that's happened in the past, if you're new to a committee, this would be one way to look at it. But if you click on the see more and you look here, like if you click on the date of a meeting, it takes you to the actual agenda. Then there's a couple different things here you could do. If you click on any of these top ones, it will take you to the agenda outline or to the agenda packet or the minutes summary or the minute packet. But then also all of these things in blue you can click on and it takes you to that item. So this shows you on the approval of the agenda for whatever meeting this is, because my eyes are not that good to see that little writing. It shows you that who made the motion, who made the second, and then what the vote result was. All right, this is in your packet too. These are all of our meetings as of right now that are scheduled for this year. Please note, May, we get to see a lot of each other. We're gonna be 3 weeks in a row because we have a couple special meetings. And then as Lori said too, we have 2 meetings always in November for the budget and then the adoption of the levy. But generally, meetings are the second Tuesday right here. All right. I could talk for hours on election administration. I promise not to, but there is some information that I think it's important that you have because you may be asked questions in the public, being an elected official, being part of the county. So, first thing I want to show you is this little booklet right here. It's 26 pages. Every line on here is a date. This is every single date of something that I have to do or my office has to do for elections this year, okay? 26 pages of dates. So it's not a simple process. And most people think of election as, the spring election was April 5th. So you think of election day as election day. That's what elections are. For us, the spring election started November 23rd. And honestly, probably started a little bit before that. But November 23rd was the first day we had to have a notice published for the spring election. We have not ended the spring election yet because the spring election will end for us May 5th, as that's when we have to have participation done and the reconciliation done, aside from then record retention. So you can see that cycle started in November and will end in May. Mind you, we had another election in the middle of that too because we had the February primary. For the partisan primary this August, which is August 9th, we started that on April 5th, the day of the spring election, because that's when we had to put the notice in for the fall election. So you can see the cycles overlap and it can be a lot to keep straight. In 2020, we had 5 elections. And if you went back to from 2020 to 2021, we did 7 elections in 14 months. So at times we had 3 elections going at one time. So filing deadlines versus ballot delivery, and this came up with a couple different municipalities this year, was the filing deadline, as you know, was the first Tuesday in January, but ballots didn't go out until March. Well, a lot of things happen, and then people want to be off the ballot or they want to be added to the ballot, but we have those deadlines to follow. And then because of the deadlines, everything is so close together. If we look at the August primary, the filing deadline is June 1st. The challenge deadline, if someone wants to challenge somebody else's papers, is June 4th. That's a Saturday, so technically then the deadline is June 6th. Then the person that is being challenged has 3 days to respond, which could take you then to June 9th. The state doesn't certify the candidates until June 10th. We can't finalize the programming and ballot creation until then June 10th when we have that certification. So then I have to get the ballot sent to the printer on June 10th because, and I'll have to look here because it cuts it off down there. I have to have the ballots, so we send them to the printer on June 10th. I have to get them back and get them to all the municipalities by June 22nd. So we have 12 days to get them to the printer, get them back, get them sorted, and get them out. So it is quick turnaround times for all of it. And all of those dates are determined by statute. So information on the election equipment, the county board approved for the county to purchase what is called clear ballot equipment back in 2019. There's 4 parts to that system. It's the clear cast, clear access, clear design, and clear count. All of you, I assume, voted, at least in April. The clear cast is where you stuck your ballot. Clear access would be as if you needed assistance and you wanted to use the touch screen to print off a ballot for you. Clear design is the system we use to create the ballots, and clear count is where we upload all the results. When we purchased the equipment, Clear Ballot came in, myself and my staff, we had 8 hours of training just on the programming and the ballot creation. And then after that, I trained over 150 municipal clerks, chief inspectors, and poll workers on how to use the ClearCast and the Clear Access. Programming and ballot creation, just want to show you guys why I hate the April election. So in this red binder here, all of these sheets is what came from the municipalities and the school boards. These are all the candidates, how all of your names wanted to be on the ballot. So we have all this information to create 79 different ballot styles. This is the number of ballot styles that were out in Chippewa County for April. Keeping them straight, keeping them for the right municipalities, making sure the municipalities are giving them to the right voters. In November, we'll probably have maybe like, well, I don't know, the map's kind of screwed everything up, but we'll probably have maybe 10. April, next April, because the municipalities will have more races, we'll have between 90 and 100 different ballot styles. So April is fun. Ballot orders. So we do all of the ordering for the ballots. I used to try to figure out historical numbers, how many people, what would we think voter turnout is going to be. And then 2020 happened and everyone decided to vote. And so now I just order for 100% of voter turnout. I don't care if it was, I think voter turnout for April was 26%. So it's just easier if we are more prepared than underprepared. So the difference between our role, the county clerk and the municipal clerk, is people get confused with absentee ballots. We really don't do a whole lot with the absentee ballots aside from ordering them, providing the ballots, providing the envelopes to all of the municipalities. And then we do all of the tracking. We put everything into the state voter registration system, but it's the municipal clerk that manages and mails out the absentee ballots. They're the ones that they get returned to. And then we also then will record the voter participation after the election and the updated voter records. On election day, honestly, election day should be quiet for my office. We really should not be having a whole lot. Everything is happening at the municipalities. However, if they have problems with voters or if they're having questions with their machines, then they contact us. I usually use the day just to go kind of wander around from municipality to municipality, make sure things are running okay. Poll workers, technically, I do not need to do anything with poll workers. That is the municipal clerk's responsibility to find the poll workers, train the poll workers. I have helped with poll worker training. I have done poll worker training, but again, that is the municipal clerk's responsibility. I do take responsibility for training the municipal clerks and then asking them to send the information on to the poll workers. when we got the new equipment in 2019, so we used it in 2020, we decided at that time that we were going to store the election equipment instead of letting the municipalities store them. There was a couple reasons. One, I wasn't confident that every municipality was doing the public test like they were supposed to. And also we learned that some of the municipalities did not maybe have the most secure storage for the equipment. They didn't have secure town halls or a place in their town hall. I know one municipality, they were storing it in a closet in their basement. What happens if that house starts on fire? What happens if there's a flood? There's just a lot of what ifs. I take election security very seriously. So our office was remodeled last year and we got a secure election room. So we store all the equipment there. It's under lock and key. There's a camera in there. So I know what is happening to the election equipment. What that meant, we decided to conduct the public test. You can see in that picture, essentially what we do is we set up every single machine for every election. And you saw those ballots. We run every ballot style combination through each municipality to make sure that it's reading correctly. Is it picking up every candidate? If we put in 4 votes, did it say 4 votes? To make sure, again, that it's going to work on election day. The public test is open to the public. We've yet to have anyone come observe, but it's open to the public. We do, most of the time we do live stream it on Facebook. We had some technical difficulties this last time, so that didn't happen, but my husband tells me it's really boring to watch it at home, but it is.
It's riveting.
It's so exciting. I mean, it's hard. Like, for example, I think City of Stanley, because I think they have like 8 municipalities, all the things. I mean, I think there was like 30 different ballots we had to run through the machine, so it's so exciting. Again, I talked about election security. A few years ago, we did a tabletop exercise where we simulated an election day and had all kinds of things where someone, drove their car into a polling location or someone was waving a crystal over the machine. All these different scenarios on what you should do or what would you do in those situations. And the funny thing is you laugh, but every single one of the scenarios is something that has happened in the state of Wisconsin. People bringing birds into it's just bizarre what people will do on election day. It was good because what happened is after we did that tabletop, the very next election, one of our town halls was broken into the night before. A fire was started inside. When they opened the when they went to open the polling location that morning, they found that out. So, but we knew, we were prepared. We knew what to do. Law enforcement was called. I had the judge. I mean, we went through all the steps. Turned out it was a 10-year-old that was bored, apparently, and decided to start a fire in a trash can. So I'm not sure. We did also in 2019 apply for some federal HAVA funds, which is Helping America Vote Act, and we received an election security grant. There was a bunch of IT upgrades that Andy was able to do. I'm not going to go into that because I don't even understand what he did, but stuff with firewalls and things like that. The secure election room we already talked about, the equipment storage. There are a handful of municipalities that we are allowing to store the equipment, but they had to sign an agreement with us, provide pictures. Only 3 people can have access to it. It has to be under lock and key, and they have to sign that every year. It just was some of our clerks, it was hard to be lifting and moving the equipment for that many times for them. I do offer, though, to deliver or to pick up any of the equipment if needed. The County Board of Canvass, again, this is one of those things that's open to the public, but nobody comes to watch. It consists of myself, and then we have 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. Usually it's Vicki Wheeler and Al Holly, and then Amanda from our office is the minute taker. And basically what we do is we're reviewing the results of the election from each polling location. We match the number of ballots to the number of signatures and voter participation in the poll books, and then the number of ballots that were counted by the tabulator. Again, just ensuring that election integrity. Post-election activities, there's post-election audits. The state will do random municipalities, and then each of those municipalities has to hand tally the ballots and compare it to the machine results. We've never had, since I've been here, any issues where the machines and the hand tallies did not match. the voter participation entry. Again, that's where we take every single name that's in the poll book and we enter it in the state voter registration system. And then we have to match the poll books with the voter participation, with the absentee ballots, the ballots tallied, and we do that all in the state system. And if any of it does not match, we have to have an explanation of why. Any questions? Okay.
Good.
Don't forget to hand me your survey before you leave if you completed it.
Since the mind can only absorb what the butt can endure, and we are at 9 o'clock, I would seek a motion to move the open meetings, open records law training to the May 10th meeting. So seek a motion at that time to do that, and then we can adjourn. Been made?
I didn't see who that was.
Supervisor. Okay. And second?
Supervisor Berg, second.
Supervisor Berg. Discussion? Okay, she's got to, she should get it in the system here.
Are you really disappointed? Todd, are you really disappointed?
I am. Cry.
Still saying supervisor's names in his sleep.
That's right.
Okay. Those wishing to approve, press green. Those wishing to aye.
You don't know, Todd. Maybe you won't know.
Sure. Here.
19 yes, 0 no.
Okay, motion carries. Move on then to agenda items, future consideration, get those to me. Again, the next meeting is May 10th. So. Other than that, I will seek a motion to adjourn.
Supervisor Hunt, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Supervisor Bishop, second.
Supervisor Bishop, second. I don't imagine there's any discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you for your patience.